What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I want to address some guaranteed income checks that are going out right now and that will be going out very soon. This is actually pretty important because some of the places that we're seeing guaranteed income is coming from major cities. We're also going to talk about some delayed government assistance and steps, what we're seeing here, and how this could potentially impact us moving forward. We're also, of course, we're going to touch on the Russia-Ukraine conflict news as well. So first off, thank you guys for watching, and let's get into the update. Now, before I get into this update, I first want to touch on something that I think a lot of people have been bringing up, and that is a $2,000 stimulus check that Democrats promised. First, a promise from anybody in Congress can't mean much because lawmakers can't pass bills on their own. They have to have support of other lawmakers in order to get a bill passed. Secondly, a lot of people keep on saying that these stimulus checks have been passed for months, but that's really not the case. And even though some people are saying they passed months ago, why aren't the checks coming out? Here's the issue. There's so many fake reports out there saying that stimulus checks were passed, that they've already been passed, we need to get this money out. Or they were passed, why are we still waiting? Or, well, we were promised these, how come we're still waiting for them? Here's the issue. In reality, nothing's being discussed. There's no stimulus checks being discussed from our leaders in Congress. None. Yeah, there's child tax credit payments. I wouldn't call that a stimulus check because we're getting that money anyway, right? So that's the issue. But with that said, and just understand, if there's a stimulus check that is going to be coming out, it's going to be passed, they're discussing it, I guarantee you, I will tell you that. But as of right now, there's nothing. But there are guaranteed income checks coming from certain cities. For instance, some larger cities are actually looking into providing some form of guaranteed income. For example, Chicago and LA. LA is currently sending $1,000 per month checks to 3,000 low-income households, and this money has no restrictions. You can use it any way you want to. This is going to go on for 1 full year. Now, Chicago just recently announced that they are going to be starting taking applications in April. In April, they will open up the application portal and they will start to provide 5,000 low-income families with $500 per month for 1 full year. That's incredible. Now, this proposal was first proposed 3 years ago. It's just now getting passed due to the fact that there's so many hardships for multiple families. And that's the issue. And so here's what we're seeing. These aren't new proposals that are just coming out all of a sudden. No. What we're seeing is many cities are bringing back old proposals because we're now starting to see those hardships again. So keep in mind that even though the federal government isn't going to pass another stimulus check, it is seen as almost a 99% chance there's no additional stimulus check coming from the federal government. But that doesn't mean cities and states will not pass one. So as we get more information on these, I promise I will fill you in on those updates as soon as we get them. But let's get into the new news for today. Here's something that we're hearing, and I thought this was interesting. Companies in Russia, U.S. companies in Russia, are now very concerned that they could be targeted if Russia doesn't get what they want out of Ukraine. For instance, McDonald's, KFC, and Burger King together have thousands of outlets in Russia. And currently, they are worried that either their sales will take a hit or due to the sanctions against Russia, or they will be targeted directly. Not because what we need to understand, okay? They could be targeted directly from Vladimir Putin. And I say this because back in 2014, when the U.S. hit Moscow with sanctions, Putin quickly closed a series of McDonald's because he said there were sanitary violations. That was it, due to sanitary violations. So many U.S. companies are now worried that they could be targeted. And this is extremely important to understand because Remember yesterday when I said how, Russia, or people were reaching out, and especially in Ukraine, saying like Apple shouldn't sell any of their Apple products to the Russian Federation. Well, what if we see this really start to unravel, and it's not just Apple, but it's McDonald's and KFC and Burger King and all these other larger companies from the US? What if they just all decide to stop selling? Here's the issue. Many of these companies, some of them will piggyback off of others. And here's the issue with regarding the stock market is, what if we see all these companies really get hit and they cannot sell in Russia? What happens then? Right? What happens then? It will be interesting to see what goes on moving forward, but this is something that we will be keeping an eye on. Now, I want to talk about the reports lately about our federal government reacting to situations too slowly. Many of you guys have brought this up, but I really want to touch on this for a second. Because many are saying that the US and other NATO allies didn't do enough early on to deter Russia from invading Ukraine. And it's true. Lawmakers have said that the federal government has waited way too long to push their parties to pass legislation that ultimately would have been good for the economy and the American people. Economists stated that if monthly stimulus checks would have been passed in the beginning of the pandemic, the American people would have been more likely to stay at home, and health experts are piling on there, and because they are saying they believe that if the American people would have simply isolated for a couple of months as opposed to a couple of weeks, this pandemic wouldn't have been actually gone on so far, and it wouldn't have been so bad. Chances are we wouldn't have seen as many variants as we have so far. And now we are seeing that the United States Postal Service has waited almost a month to get millions of at-home COVID tests out. Many people are seeing these tests show up to their mailboxes just now, even though President Biden announced back in December, I believe it was December 21st, that he said tests were supposed to come out very quickly. Now, when the tests were ordered, which the first day that you could order was actually January 18th, it actually opened one day before it was supposed to, but many people ordered these. Now, I know I ordered some. I got mine a few weeks ago. It took about a week to get mine, but there's so many reports on Twitter and on Reddit that people are just now getting their at-home COVID tests. Well, guess what? CDC says, masks can start coming off, right? We're now starting to open up. Dr. Fauci says the pandemic is almost over. So the Biden administration was so far behind, right? And then not only that, but the United States Postal Service was just as far behind. It's crazy. But that's where we're getting to really at this point, is that there's so many reports saying our government officials have just been so slow to react. And we got this, I'm not just bashing President Biden and Democrats, because last year when former President Donald Trump was in office, actually it was a little over a year ago, 2 years ago actually, we were being told that, hey, there's this virus here in the US, we could potentially be shutting down. And at that time, President Trump said, no, it's, we're safe. When in reality, we weren't, and we saw a little bit of delay. So it's not just one person or one party. It's really everybody. So let's talk about what's going on in Russia and Ukraine for a moment. Because currently, according to reports, Kyiv is actually under a curfew as it braces for Russian troops to come very soon. It is actually being said that Russian troops are getting closer to the capital, and it will only be a matter of days before they attempt to take control. Now, at the same time, right now we have this rumor that Vladimir Putin has told China's Xi Jinping that he is willing to negotiate with Ukraine. But this is coming because, according to reports, that Russia is very upset that they're being held off from taking control of major cities. And right now, Germany is also sending more assistance to help Ukraine fight off Russia. So what looks like is happening is Russia could be willing to negotiate due to the fact that they might not be able to accomplish what they set out to accomplish. And Ukraine could be willing to negotiate for the simple fact that Ukraine's President Zelensky, he doesn't want any more of his citizens to die. That's the report that we're getting. So both are willing to negotiate because one isn't getting what he wants. The other one wants his citizens to remain alive. So we'll see what happens there. We also did hear from Tesla's billionaire Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, and he said that the Starlink is now activated in Ukraine. He also stated that more terminals are en route as well, so those could show up very soon also. So that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on, share all latest news and updates. I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.